Well, tonight we are staying on top of a developing story out of Barrow County. That is where Colt Gray has pleaded guilty to the shooting at Apalachee High School.
So we first told you about that plea on our 11 Alive 24/7 stream. It was a non-negotiated plea. It comes nearly 2 years after that shooting when 4 people were killed September 2024. Colt Gray opened fire at that school with an AR-style gun. 7 others were shot. It's been an emotional day in court as those affected by that shooting are giving statements. We want to get out to Grace King, who's been out there all day. Grace, what can you tell us?
Well, Colt Gray faces a life sentence in prison. The question we're really looking at here today is whether he will have the shot at parole. His defense team, of course, hopes to paint the picture of a troubled child who just couldn't get the help he needed. We heard a lot of interviews with Colt today saying he just wasn't in his right mind, didn't know what was going on at the time of that shooting. But prosecutors say he had planned this shooting for months and knew exactly what was going to happen. On September 4th, 2024, investigators say 14-year-old Colt Gray arrived at school with a plan to kill.
It says second, walk from first to the bathroom. So I'll set my bag down, open it, and put on vest. I'll take it a moment or two to stay calm and really think about if I want to do this.
He didn't hesitate, opening fire in J Hall several minutes later, claiming the lives of math teacher Christina Irami.
Does Miss Christina Irami get another opportunity to live, teach, and be with her husband?
Football coach Richard Aspinwall.
He brought kindness, laughter, and strength into our lives.
14-year-old Christian Angulo.
Christian was a beautiful, innocent soul who was robbed of his dreams.
And 14-year-old Mason Skirmerhorn.
Mason was kind, compassionate, funny, and fiercely protective of others.
4 loving people who never made it home.
I had no doubt in my mind if Colt had actually attended school, as he should have, that Mason would have befriended him.
Those who spoke at Colt's sentencing suggested they could have befriended Colt if given the chance.
I would have been your friend, and I know a bunch more people would have.
Instead, his 2 minutes of violence turned into a lifetime of grief.
Some days when I think about the shooting, it feels like he killed me. I'm so angry. But I know my God, and evil never wins.
Their futures were changed forever. They believe Colt's should be too.
I have lived 688 days so far of a sentence with no parole. And that is what he should receive as well.
The defendant showed no mercy when he stole their futures, and therefore he should not receive the grace of a second chance.
And right after the shooting, they played the interview with Colt Gray, still at Apalachee High School that day. He was very distraught, didn't quite understand, was struggling to understand what had just happened. He called himself a monster who just had voices in his head telling him to do this. And that is, of course, building into that case of whether he should face life in prison with or without the chance of parole. Now, hours later, he did seem to have more of an understanding of what was happening. We're going to continue some of those interviews and that evidence Monday morning at 9. Live in Barrow County, Grace King, 11 Alive News.
Okay, it's not over yet, Grace. Thanks. Colt Gray's father, Colin, will learn his fate next week. A sentencing hearing is planned for next Thursday. In March, a jury convicted Colin Gray in connection to the shooting on several counts, including second-degree murder and cruelty to children. Prosecutors argued he had enough warning that his son posed a risk, but still allowed him access to firearms, including the gun used in the shooting, which Colin Gray gave Colt for Christmas. We'll bring you coverage of that sentencing next week. We'll also stay on top of Colt Gray's hearing as soon as it starts on Monday, and we'll follow it throughout the duration.